Austin Experience on KLIS 590, the Lou Information Station. You can listen live. And if you don't, you can also listen live on demand. And we're also on YouTube. You can catch us on YouTube as well. We got a very special show today. We're talking a lot of high school football in the first hour. And of course, in the second hour, it's the easy second hour as I'm joined by Hall of Famer Ron Zetcher. But we're going to start right off. We got some very special guests today. One of the top football teams, high school football teams in the state of Missouri. We got the St. Louis U High Junior Billikens. Let's hear it for the Billikens. Give yourself a nice up. There you go. All right. And Coach Adam Cruz in the house. Thank you very much for joining us. You play a late Friday night game, and then to get the guys up on a Saturday morning. I know that's, I was a kid at 17, 18 having to play, and to get up in the morning is not really high on my list. So I appreciate you bringing the young men in to spend some time with us.
No, we're really excited for it. And these are some great young men that rolled in here, and then about 5 minutes, Jordan will roll in.
Jordan, absolutely. So what we're going to do is we're going to have everybody introduce yourself, your grade, your position, and all of you have committed to schools as well. And we'll start at the end over there.
I'm Zach Allen, class of 2026. I'm a receiver, and I'm committed to the University of Northern Iowa.
All right.
I'm Keenan Harris, class 2026. I'm an outside linebacker and raw receiver, and I'm committed to Missouri.
I'm Sebastian Tate, class of 2026. I'm committed to Indiana State, and I'm a DN.
I'm Albert Reinberg. I'm an offensive lineman and defensive lineman, and I'm committed to Cornell.
It's you're old when you start seeing the children of athletes that you've covered. Albert, I've seen his dad Bo play at Borgia, and your uncle Jason, I believe, was a great player. And of course, Sebastian, I've known his father Corey, of course, assistant coach with the Billikens, and but watched him play at Pattonville back in the day. But just a very talented group. And first, talk about, like you say, first 4-0 start in 20 years. What does that mean to your program to get off to such a great start, especially with this good group of guys you got here?
Yeah, and with our schedule, we play some really high-end opponents. We started with St. Ignatius from Chicago, who beat us 56-21 last year, and it was pretty important for us to get off to a fast start. We played really well in that one. Our first game's the run into the Bills, and so that's a good one to set the tone with the school community. Then we went and played out at Hillsboro, which is always a very tough place to play. It was their military appreciation night out there. And then we played really well against DeSmet last week. We were able to win at Lutheran St. Charles last night. And so for our guys, it was really about, we kind of knew we had a pretty special group over the summer, but making sure we showcased that from the start of the year on.
What does it mean, we'll start with Zach, to be 4-0, especially turning around some teams, like you said, DeSmet and St. Ignatius? Those were easy victories for them last year, but you were able to turn that around. What's been the key to kind of turning things around and really playing some great football?
I think that we're really just focused on ourselves. I mean, we kind of really knew like it was going to be like this 2026 group, like all along in the end, like from the beginning. We had a really special class, and this year I think we're just really focused on ourselves. And our team is like really close. We have a really close team. And whenever we go out on Fridays, we just play as a family, play as brothers. So like I know Keenan, when I go out on Fridays, I know Keenan got my back. I know all these guys got my back. So I really just think that's the key.
I know, like I say, a lot of people, obviously was excited about the DeSmet win because it's a conference win and everything. But St. Ignatius, as Coach said, 56-21, that's a running clock last year. And you guys turned that around in 1 year. Blew about what was the difference this year, Keenan, against another very good team from Chicago? Of course, we know Chicago Catholic League football is very good.
This year, I would say I feel like we were more prepared. Like I feel like we really locked in, and we were talking about St. Ignatius since the spring, and like we had great numbers during the spring, and we just had an amazing summer, and we were really just locked in. And we were just really prepared. We prepared all week long, and it was just good preparation, and we just went out there and performed.
What about you, Sebastian? Same question. And speak get right in the microphone there, so we all can hear you there.
I would say our attitude about it this year was different because last year I feel like we playing an out-of-town team. You don't really know much about them, so our attitude wasn't as like serious, I would say. But this year, like we knew what we had to do. We got done what we had to get done, and we came through and got a win.
What's the atmosphere like? Home opener, the crowd, your brothers are in the stands. I know they really put on a good show in the stands, and to come out with an impressive victory like that to start the season. How did that set the tone for this way this 4-0 start for you?
Oh, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I would say my favorite Sluh experience is always running the Bills every year, which is our home opener. Just seeing the boys in blue running around and screaming is always so fun, and that just kind of sealed what they were talking about, like that bond between us. It kind of really brought us all together with that home opener. That's awesome.
Thank you. Tell us about, give me a word about all 4 of these young men and what they bring to the program and their individual talents.
Yeah. So I'll start with Albert. Albert, as he mentioned, is a two-way lineman. And so Albert has that kind of, we'll say, jerk to him, which is really good. He brings a really good attitude to practice every single day. Brings a lot of physicality. He's a very smart football player, obviously being committed to Cornell. So he probably bumps up the team GPA a couple points too. But Albert's always been a lineman. He's been happy to we play different spots. Unfortunately, we had to shuffle our O-line a little bit right before the season, and Albert, slid out to left tackle, which is a pretty important position, and hasn't missed a beat and has actually played really well out there. Sebastian, it's really about growth. When I look at Seabass, Seabass came into high school thinking he was a hooper. Watch him play for about 5 minutes. That ain't the case.
Both his parents were hoopers. I gotta mention mom too. Nicole was a great player too, so I don't want to shortchange mom either.
No, Sebastian is a good basketball player. I was his coach for 2 years on the JV level, but Sebastian, kind of like Albert, has kind of moved around on the defensive line, defensive end, 3-tech. And even had to moonlight a little bit at offensive tackle this year. But it's just, I think he hasn't even scratched the surface of his potential. And then Keenan Harris, I'm sure you would bring it up, Earl. Keenan broke a school record last night. Career tackles. He had 337.
Wow.
Which in a program as storied as ours, it's pretty cool for that. And, God willing, we get through the practice week. He'll break another one next week. Most games started. That record's a 40-year record that Keenan will break, which is pretty cool. So it's just been consistency. You saw him kind of pause with his positions because he said receiver because he wanted to say running back or quarterback, I guess you could say, because we have been using him a lot on offense. He's already scored 5 touchdowns. And then, Zach Allen, when college coaches came in, it's easy to talk about Zach because Zach eats, sleeps, and breathes football. He is a football junkie. He loves everything about the game. He works perfecting his craft. We practice all spring and all summer. I don't think Zach takes a day off. What's been cool about Zach this year is as our number one receiver, he's had some situations of double coverage and things like that, and he's been able to make differences in the game. He's returned a punt for a touchdown, or returned a kick for a touchdown. We're going to get him throwing this week so he can score in every possible way. So.
Well, he took the opening kickoff to the house last night.
He did. It was a 91-yard kick return and cloud of dust.
What's that feeling like? Everybody's settling in their seat, and all of a sudden you get the opening kickoff, and it's 7-0.
Well, we was running out on the field, and me and Keenan, all week of practice we were saying that they weren't gonna kick it deep, and then me and Keenan would run out on the field, and we feel like they gonna kick it deep, and they kicked it deep. And it was like right up the sideline. I caught it, cut across the field. And I just seen green grass. It was great to kind of get that opening kickoff, set the tone for the game, and then after that we handled our business, got our tools in, and got like some of the seniors that don't play as much in. So it was a great team win and great to get like all those guys on the field.
And we got another special guest here. I told all the guys, introduce yourself, your name and your position, and what school you'll be going to next year.
My name is Jordan Taylor. I'm RB1, and I'm committed to Sac State University.
All right, so we got a lot of offense, got a lot of defense in here. We were just talking about just the great turnaround so far that you guys have established. What's it mean to be 4-0? This is the first time in 20 years, and to be able to do that, and what is that? How does that build your confidence as a team, Jordan?
I think it really shows our team's perseverance. I mean, we put a lot of work in. I done been at Sluh for 4 years now, and we had a lot of ups and downs. And with that being said, I feel like it just shows us as a senior class how much work we done put in and what we done came through to get to this moment. And like I said, it's just been a lot of perseverance, especially working with a whole bunch of new guys, especially through this summer. Every year, a different team, but same goal. So, shoot, it's been a long ride. And we done worked really hard to get to this point.
Like I say, this is a great senior class I'm talking to in the studio. Talk about start with Keenan. What did you guys who got guys together to just get workouts and preparing for this senior year? But like I say, as Zach said, this would look like this was the year everybody was pointing to. Who kind of got guys together and just say, hey, this is our year, and getting workouts and stuff like that.
I mean, it really starts with us, like in the weight room. I feel that, like, especially like I said earlier, especially like coming from in the spring, we get a lot of good guys and like a lot of numbers out during those workouts, and those were great for us this past season. So it just really worked out, and then guys just seen us all working and everybody wanted to come work, and then it started in the weight room where we started getting good numbers and everything was just good. And then us as captains, we mission one, but we've now just been trying to just lead and just keep our guys going.
Sebastian, could you see the focus from everybody and the buy-in, even during the summer, those hot days when it's everybody's working out? Could you see how everybody was focused, and this year could be different?
Yeah, I could see it in the summer because it's hard to go in like 100-degree weather, 95-degree weather, and still want to play football padded up and hidden. So when you have, I think we had about like an average of 60 people come out, up like 70 or 80. So when you have those numbers come out in the summer and like in that type of degrees, it's like you see it all. You see the confidence and like everybody wants to all buy in.
How exciting is that? I know it's exciting to go out and win games on Friday, but how exciting is it to see 60, 70 guys in the weight room or out on the field running, getting ready in the summertime when nobody is watching? How exciting is that for you as one of the players?
I mean, for me as a lineman, strength is all I know. So I think it's pretty awesome. And especially just seeing not only us leading everybody and everybody listening, but like everyone else has their own leaders within their class. Like we have a D1 guy already, junior, Anthony Busby is his name, and he's really good at leading his class. And then in the junior class, we have Tim Kelly, who's great at it. And I think that just shows like how our leadership has rubbed off on everyone else, and it's kind of like a trickle down. I think it's awesome.
Adam is obviously the head coach and CEO of the program. How important is it to see your veterans kind of take ownership of the program? I know that I talk to a lot of coaches, and they say it's just as important when you see the players take ownership and everybody buys into what they're doing.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, Sebastian mentioned the numbers. We're blessed. We have 83 on the varsity JV roster. We have another 52 on the freshman team. My favorite days really aren't Fridays. On Wednesdays, our entire program warms up together. So we have the varsity on one side, 80-ish deep, the freshmen on the other side, 50-ish deep. You got 135 guys out there, and they all come together, and it's kind of cool to see the entire program. And, that's something we started doing last year because we wanted our freshmen to see guys like Keenan, guys like Zach, guys like Albert, Sebastian, Jordan, how they practice, how they approach the day, and also that they're having fun. That's something that this group refuses to not do, is have fun, which I love them for it. They do Zach mentioned it earlier. What's really special is this is a group that loves each other, loves being around each other, and I think that's important because we do a out of town overnight camp in Silex, Missouri. I think it's the most miserable fun experience of their entire life. But they grow pretty close to that stuff, and it's cool to kind of see.
Okay, now we talk about the SMET. Obviously, probably one of the biggest wins Sluh's had in recent years. What was things like Zach first started leading up to into SMET week? Obviously Sluh hasn't beaten the SMET in almost a decade, but very talented team. What was the attitude, mindset going into that game?
I think we were very confident. Well, I know we were very confident. Like we knew what type of group we had, and we knew what we had to do going into the game. The SMET obviously still a talented team, even though they're not having the best year. We knew that we had to go in 100% effort from the start of the game. And if we do our job, we were going to win.
Keenan, of course, you had a big impact defensively, but offensively in that game, 3 touchdowns, and you ran out of the Wildcat. How much fun was that to be able to contribute that much on the offensive end, running the football, and especially, I mean, it was impressive to watch.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. It was fun. Just our coaches just calling my number and me just being able to go make a play. And that's just all it is. I just feel that like once my guys up front block, all I gotta do is just go be a dog and go make a play.
Of course, Coach Drinkwitz was in the house there for that game. When you saw him, did that kind of give you a little more? I know it's already juice getting ready to play this snap. Did that give you a little more juice when you saw your future head coach in the building?
Sir. Whenever him and Coach D. Nick pulled up, I knew I had to give him a show.
Give him a show. All right. Up front, Sebastian, that game was like say it was 14-14, but you were able to get the field goal and you were able to pull away. What made the difference, you think, in turning a very close game into a pretty solid victory for the Junior Billikens?
I think the difference was winning the trenches, because I think once we stopped the run and held up front, there wasn't really many options, because we have good corners like Quincy Jones out there to stop. So when we stop the run, there's not really much can happen. So when we stop the run, it's really what's the word? Really easy. It makes the game easier.
You had those 2 big goal line stands in the second half, and I'm sitting in the press box, and I know the guys are going crazy, and even your coaches in the press box are going. How exciting was that? I mean, those were the big key turning points in that game, weren't they?
Oh, I mean, those were awesome. Those really gave us momentum, even though we're so far back. Just that stop is just like a boost of confidence. Another great boost of confidence was the catch from Will Schulte.
Right before halftime. Unbelievable catch.
I mean, it was incredible. And for a guy like Coach Cruz always says, he blocks 95% of the time at the tight end position, but he can still make big plays. So that was awesome.
I know you got things going with the first touchdown, I believe, in that game. Beating DeSmet, what does that do for? I mean, what was that just to get that off that albatross out from around your neck? That you were able to finally beat one of your conference rivals and get that big win, Jordan?
I mean, shoot, freshman year. Okay, well let's just go down the line. Freshman year, I played them a little bit. I was at linebacker at that time, and we got it built. So I was like, dang, it's my freshman year. I ain't know we was gonna get beat this bad. Sophomore year, I ended up getting hurt at the beginning of the season. Didn't get to face them again, especially with the team we had and a lot of the talent. We had lost a couple pieces, including me. And shoot, that team was a really highly talented team, but we ended up losing to the Smith. The first time, pretty bad. Second time, we stayed up with them in the district championship. I was just like, man, I really wish I could have contributed to that. Junior year, we played them the first time. It was pretty hard fought. Ended up losing 22-3. Lost in the district championship, and I was just like, man, I'm tired of losing to them. I'm tired of seeing people lose to them. I'm just tired of the never-ending cycle of this. So, shoot, coming into the senior year, I just knew we had a couple people we had to get back at. So, that being said, DeSmet was one of them guys on that list, including St. Ignatius, too. St. Ignatius, DeSmet, Rocker, CBC. It's a lot of teams that, shoot, we got a team now we really want to see. We want to see how far our time going to take us. And Smith was one of those bricks along that road. And we laid it.
You mentioned the SMAT, obviously CBC down the road, and obviously Vianney, Chaminade. What's it like? Each week, and you play a good non-conference, but you're also lining up the Metro Catholic conferences year in and year out. Not only one of the best conferences in the state, but in the region. You're lining up against some great football talent each week. Really has to keep you guys focused.
Well talented, well coached. That's what we tell our kids all the time. You mentioned the Chicago Catholic with Ignatius, but the Metro Catholic is, very talented coaching staffs, very talented teams. And the nice thing is we know we can never let the foot off the gas. This group had an experience last year where we didn't play very well against one of our MCC opponents, and It came down to the final play, keeping them out on a 2-point conversion. Then the next week, we prepared really, really hard and played really well and really performed against the conference opponent. And so I think Zach mentioned it earlier, with a schedule like that, with a league like that, you really got to focus on yourself, because if you look too much at the opponent, it'll keep you off the path you're playing down.
And like you said, even at 4-0, you still got some, like I said, next week, Live for Life, an up and coming team, really doing some nice things. You still got the Metro Catholic, you got CB, you got, I think Vianney, is it you still have to play, I believe?
Yeah, so we go.
And then Rockhurst, I believe, still on the schedule. So
Rockhurst undefeated, number 2 in Class 5.
Yeah.
We go to Kansas City this year. That's always a really physical game. These guys' freshman year, that was actually Jordan's first breakout game, his first 100-yard rushing game. We lost to him in triple overtime. So that's always a tough game. And like you mentioned, Live for Life, Coach Wolfwork's an incredible job over there. They're very well coached, very talented. We're finally back home this week, though. We've been on the road the last 3 weeks. I think these guys are itching to get back in front of the home crowd. And a little bit of a shout out for our game. We had our biggest fan, a little girl named Nora Bunn. She's the sister of one of our players. She passed away. And so we're playing the game. Tony and I arranged it for pediatric cancer. So these guys, if they don't know it yet, will be wearing golden pink unicorn socks. That was Nora's favorite animal and favorite thing. And we'll be doing a lot of cool things around the game.
Well, thank you very much for that. And condolences to the family of Miss Nora as well. Well, guys, I'd like to thank you very much. Really appreciate you joining us in the studio here today. I know it's been a great first month of the season, but I know you got even bigger goals in mind. Good luck next week to Live for Life as well. I'll be there on the 17th of October. I believe you're hosting CBC.
So you're hosting CBC.
I mean, I'm not supposed to look that far, but I'm media. I'll be at that game there.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I mean, obviously, you see the team they have this year.
Right.
To be the best, you got to beat the best, and they obviously have set that high bar. So, but every game from here on out's a big one, starting with Live for Life this week.
All right. Well, appreciate your time, guys, and continue to success. Continue on that road as well. You're doing a great job, and looking forward to seeing you play as well. All right. That's Coach Adam Cruz, and let me see, Zach Allen, Keenan Harris, Sebastian Tate, Albert Reinberg, and Jordan Taylor. Those are the St. Louis U High Junior Billikens, 4-0 on the season. When we return, we'll talk a little more high school football. We'll have Alex Zagrillis, coach of North Point, the Grizzlies, had a big victory last night. And then, of course, the Easy second hour with Ron Zetcher. You're joining us on the Earl Austin Experience on the Lou Information Station and also live on demand at louinfo.com. It's Earl Austin Jr. here. We're on the Lou Information Station 590 KLIS. If you get a chance, if you don't listen live, you can listen live on demand at luinfo.com. We're on YouTube as well. You catch us, give a shout out. Once again, thank you very much to Adam Cruz and the St. Louis U High Junior Billikens for joining us. That was very fun experience. As always, love bringing kids in to talk about what they do well. And the Junior Billikens, one of the best teams, not only in St. Louis, but the state of Missouri. We're going to continue talking a little high school football. But I saw one of the, that was last night. I was in Wentzville, Missouri, and I saw one of the best games of the year. People were asking me throughout the week, Earl, are you going to that big CBC, the Smet game as well? And I said, no, I'm going to Wentzville, North Point, and Wentzville Liberty. That's going to be the game. I said it last week on this show. This was going to be the game, and it was 51-48. It had one of the most exciting games, big plays, rivalries, the crowd. It was amazing. And we're joined now by head coach Alex Zangrillis of North Point. Did I get that right? Zangrillis, is that right, Coach? We got Coach there. Coach.
Hello?
Alex?
Yes.
Oh, great. Great. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. I was just talking about last night's game. One of the most exciting games I've seen in regular season in recent years. Now, I'm a neutral observer to the game. And it was so exciting that I was wound up. I couldn't hardly sleep. It was now, as somebody that's invested in the game as a head coach, and how were you feeling after this game, after that exciting game last night?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think I got to sleep till 2:30 in the morning. It takes so much time to wind down, and especially after that one. You're just reliving every moment, every play, and it was, that took a minute to calm down from.
Now, it looks like Wentzville, Liberty, and North Point have kind of quietly become one of the best, most exciting rivalries in this St. Louis metro area. I was just going back a couple of years. Every game you play seems to go down to the last minute. It's a close game, but last night I think both your teams really outdid yourselves with that one, Coach. That was really exciting to watch.
Yeah, that rivalry's true. I used to coach over there and know a lot of those guys. So, pull for them when we're not playing them. And, but yeah, we played them the past 4 times we played them. I think it's come down to combined like 10 points. And, we saw them in the playoffs last year. It's been a good rivalry. It's a lot of fun every time we play, Wentzville School. And anytime we play Liberty, it's been a good game so far. So good to come out on the top on this one.
Absolutely. It looked like it was one of those games where, styles make fights, as they say. And it looked like North Point, you guys are a team that really relies on big plays, and you had so many of them, while Liberty looked like they can grind it out with that good ground game. And I think obviously that made for a classic game last night, didn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. You got two different styles, and it was really cool again to be able to execute on both sides and kind of, game plans. It's like you said, it's like a big boxing match, chess match. You're trying to compete against other teams, other coaches, and that was a great one last night. Absolutely.
You have some of the most explosive players I've seen. We'll talk about your first year, your junior quarterback, Tavren Williams. I call him Mr. Excitement. I mean, he just made one big play after another. Talk about your junior quarterback and what he does for you.
Yeah, he's special. We just got to get the ball in his hands and let him spin. He's him and his brother, they're always working, which, you saw the connection last night.
Yes.
Mr. Excitement, he's pretty special. He can run the ball, he can throw it. He lives to extend that play and find that, next open receiver, and he really helps our offensive line out. And we've been working together for the past 3 years, and look forward to, continuing to coach him. He's a great young man, and he's done a really good job working, and he loves his craft and just loves the game.
It's amazing how he extends plays and runs around, but then he'll just throw either a dart in the middle of the field, or he throws one 50 yards downfield on the money. It's just amazing how he's able to to do that, and be a young quarterback at that.
Yeah, he's pretty special. Like exactly like you said, he's some of them are called where he's looking to take that shot. Others he's just extending. We may call hitches across the board, and he rolls out and he just tells everybody to kind of start breaking. We practice our scramble drill, and he knows it, and our receivers definitely know it at this point in time to stay alive, stay hot, and he's always keeping his eyes downfield. So credit to him and our receivers. And it's pretty cool. Receivers sometimes get a bad rep. Usually they can maybe be labeled selfish, but not our room. Our room, they block for each other, and they know they are all weapons. On the field, and like they just gotta wait and take their time. And you saw 0, 4, 18, all those dudes can fly, absolutely fly. And our quarterback knows it, and he just got to find time and find them. So,
yeah, who's your track coach over there, Coach?
He's our running backs coach and our freshman head coach, Brandon Tripp. We give him a lot of credit, and it's pretty awesome the relationship we have with our track and field program to be able to keep our guys in track and get them fast.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at between the Williams brothers, Mikael Campbell and Jaden Flores. I see a 4x1 and a 4x2 that could compete with just about anybody in the state.
Exactly.
With those 4 kids. My goodness.
Oh yeah, they're burners.
And like you said, we mentioned Tyron Williams, who's the brother of your quarterback. He kind of got things going. They went on a nice long drive that opened the scoring, and he took it to the house from 99 yards the next kickoff. He's just an explosive young man, isn't he?
Oh, he is the definition of a gamer. I mean, you just got to put the ball in his hands and let him. He'll find space. And again, just on kick return. And shout out to Coach Myers, our special teams coordinator, for drawing that up. And we practiced it all week and executed exactly how we wanted to. And it's cool when you can do those things and let your guys go play. And he's pretty special. Offense, defense. He's a gamer, definition of it.
And we mentioned Mikael Campbell as well. Not only had a big kickoff return, but one of the best catches. He had a great layout in the end zone, a diving catch as well. Another one of those talented athletes that you have.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a dog. He is. I mean, it was cool as you got Flores, who's our straight burner and just burns by people, and then you got Ty, who's shifty in a box, and then Kel, you can't bring him down. You need 3 guys. I mean, he is one of the strongest. He benches darn near 300 pounds, and he's a tank to bring down, and he's fast, and I'm truly blessed, and we're blessed to have him in our program, and these guys work, and that's what's cool is they've worked for all this, and to be able to see the benefits on the field is pretty amazing.
One thing I really was impressed with your team last night is they all have short memories. There were some plays where Liberty was able to get takeaways, and it could have been catastrophic, but looked like they just went right back on the field with a next play mentality and drove down the field for a game-winning field goal. Look like where does that mental toughness come from that they have?
Yeah, we preach that. We preach one play at a time, one game at a time. Like, we're not trying to go, obviously we have end of the season goals, but every week it's 1-0. It doesn't matter if we say nameless faceless opponent every week, but it's that next play mentality. And we say that on the sideline as soon as we, make a big play or mistake, doesn't matter, get better, move on to the next play. I think we really learned a lot about our team week 2 against Holt. We were down 17-6, and we were just like, what are we doing? And we kind of woke up a little bit and kind of found that, that fighting us, and we figured out what kind of team we can be. And we've just been kind of riding that ever since that fourth quarter against Holt.
The schedule is very unique in that all 4 of the schools in the Winsfield School District play each other the first 3 weeks of the season. So it's almost like you're playing 3 big rivalry games to start the season. How have you been? And I think you came up with a 3-0 record, so you handled it pretty well. But how has that been each week? Like you say, a tough game against Hope, but then now here's Liberty, who you've had great games. How unique is that to handle that kind of the schedule you play all your district brethren?
Yeah, we played them all last year on the road, and so that was unique in itself. And we almost were able to win the crown last year, the Winston Crown. But having them at home was a different game. So having them at home was a benefit to having our players, our fans there, and we were able to pack it in, and it was awesome. It's been definitely unique.
Very, very also what's very good about your school. North Point now is what, 5 years? Is it?
Yeah, this is our 5th year as a program.
5th year as a program and doing nice things. How has that been to establish a relatively new school, a new football program, and now you're 4-0 and doing everything? What is all going into that? That's not easy, especially with football when you're talking about numbers. Maybe other sports, but football, you need numbers and some depth, and you've been able to establish a pretty good team already in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, and I credit our coaching staff. Our coaching staff's been amazing. Working. We had a lot of retention the past year, and then we had some new guys come in this year to our staff, but it's just been the same constant message, same belief, and our leadership's been amazing. That's something we wanted to work on right away, is to get our leadership right. Talk about culture, doing the right things, what's going to make us our program standards, and that's something that we're really proud of here, is that, we have those standards in our culture of what we expect to do day in and day out, and the mentality that we need to have. And it's losing the 4-year seniors with, a couple Division I players and Carter Burdell and Hoyt Gregory, could really turn. And our first summer practice was quiet. Everybody was kind of looking around trying to figure out who's going to talk. And then again, we found out who we were as a team, and it's just been day in and day out, keep working and trusting the process. And it's cliche, but it's true. You just got to keep doing what you're doing, and it's been special. And we're going to continue to keep doing what we're doing. And we always say 24 hours, win or lose, and then we got to get right back to it. And that's going to be our message. So.
Yeah. I did see Hoyt Gregory, a senior's father. I've known Hoyt since his playing days at Rittner, and obviously he's a Lindenwood guy just like I am, and played football when the original Lindenwood football, when they started. Hoyt was part of that, and he was telling me, like you said, your offensive line is very young, a lot of newcomers, so they're kind of learning on the fly. How have they been coming along, and you kind of had to rebuild that part of your offense, and you're still scoring a lot of points.
Oh yeah, and we've had to call some things where we put them in situations to be advantageous for them. But yeah, Coach Gregory's a phenomenal offensive line coach, and we're so thankful to have him and be able to develop our offensive line and get them ready. It's been awesome having them, and I think the best thing is that they believe in each other. They never get down. They never unwaver. They just keep battling, and they be smaller, undersized, but they fight. That's what it's truly unbelievable.
Great. Well, Alex, I really appreciate you joining me on the show today. It was not only was it a great game, but it was a great experience. That's my first time at North Point. The last time I was in Winsville for a football game, it was pre-COVID, and it was Holt against Timberland. They were both undefeated. There was about 9,000 people there, and it was an amazing game. It went down to the final score game, and I think that was the year Holt went to the Show Me Bowl that year. So It was a great experience. So once again, this one, maybe not the crowd as big, but it rivaled it in terms of the enthusiasm, the atmosphere, and obviously the great game that it was. So I think I got to come out to Winsville more often, don't I?
I think so. You might be the good luck charm to bring the player, the game of the year so far to Winsville. Yeah. You might be that good luck charm, but no, we appreciate all that you do for covering our great sport in the high school area, and really means a lot to us.
Well, appreciate the time. Congratulations on your 4-0 start, and good luck to you the rest of the season as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. That's Alex Zangrillis. He's the head coach of North Point High School in Wentzville, Missouri. We joined by my man Ryan Singler on the controls.
I heard that game was game of the year.
It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I mean, there was Liberty has a young man named Jalen Mack, running back. I think he got 5 touchdowns yesterday. I mean, they just bulldozed them right down the field. Opening drive, it's just boom, 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 and he ran it in and everything. And that was the type of game. They go on a 60, 70-yard drive, and then they kick off at North Point. They ran an end around, and Tyron Williams, the senior, took it 99 yards to the house, and it was just that type of game. Either Liberty would go on a drive or get a takeaway, and then North Point would throw it downfield 40, 50 yards, 60-yard field goal, and it was a late night, but I got home and I was still just fired up. Like you said, I'm just there. It was so I like to go to new places like
Yeah,
that.
because I don't even think they're like super ranked, are they?
No, I mean, like I said, they're new. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a new program, but one thing they have, you said they got 4 or 5 weapons, explosive athletes, really get it done. So congratulations to those young men who are new on the scene, and congratulations to Liberty too as well. Liberty is a very good football team. I think they caught a lot of people's attention when they beat Warrenton last week, 35-0. Warrenton has been a team that's been making some deep playoff runs. They're a very good program as well. So that was a fun game as well. So what I'm going to do for the last 7 minutes, when we got through our high school football, I want to talk about the WNBA playoffs got underway in the first round, and I'm on watching those like a hawk, and I didn't get a chance to see obviously the Liberty get closed out, the defending champions by Phoenix last night because I was at the football game, but the first round games were amazing, and I think it's going to really set up for the semifinals and then the finals, which will be best of 7. I think we got some great matchups, some very intriguing games as well. I think obviously the number 1 seed is the Minnesota Lynx, and they closed out Golden State in 2 games. But that second game though in Valhalla in Golden State, they were down 17 points, and they had a remarkable rally to pull that game out by 1 point.
But shout out to Golden State though, because shout out to Golden State.
It was a
new team.
It was one of the best stories, low key in sports, professional sports. This was a expansion team.
I've never seen that before.
And not only did they make the playoffs, they created one of the best professional sports atmospheres. Every game sold out 19,000 every game, and I watched 4 or 5 of them during the season. Crowds just crazy. Golden State Warriors players there. It was amazing. Then you had the coach of the year, the most improved player, and they lost their best player, Thornton, midway through the season to an injury, and they kept it going. That's phenomenal, and that's good for the league, and that's big. That's something that was it Portland, Cleveland, Detroit, the new expansion teams down the road. That puts them on the clock. This is as a new franchise. This is the possibilities.
Personally, I think even though I'm more of a casual WNBA fan, I think the new expansion teams are going to have way better fan bases than the teams that are already in there because they have to compete with other stuff as well. And then I'm just thinking like Golden State and how they played throughout the season. They made selling out every game. That's more than some Cardinals games. Like Cardinals aren't getting any attendance, and they're getting 20,000, 19,000. That's insane. So.
And we have a local player on that team, Kate Martin, Martin from Edwardsville, Illinois, who was a big part of that success as well. And like you say, they had Minnesota on the ropes in game 2 and could have forced the game 3, but Minnesota and Nafisa Collier, she hit the baseline jumper to put them ahead, and they survived the last second shot. So they will play Phoenix in the semifinals. That's what I'm saying. We got Las Vegas and Indiana, and we got Phoenix and Minnesota. Phoenix, obviously we talk Minnesota. They've been the number 1 team from start to finish, and you got the Nafisa Collier, you got Elena Smith, Defensive Player of the Year. You got the Stud Buds, who are really good at the guards as well, and obviously Kayla McBride shooting the threes, and they just Cheryl Reeves, a Hall of Fame coach, and they play great team defense. You would think they're the favorite, obviously, but it's going to be hard. Phoenix is really talented.
They are.
Especially when Satu Sabalay is on her game. Sometimes she gets that consistency. Like that first game they lost, she was off to 2 of 10 from 3, but you saw her in those last 2 games when she is on her game. Obviously, Alyssa Thomas is an MVP candidate. 20-point triple-double last night. And Kalia Copper, that's a big 3. That's tough to deal with when all of them are going. And Dewana Bonner's 38 years old, still hooping,
Yeah.
So that's a dangerous. That's going to be a great series. And the very intriguing series, Las Vegas, which survived,
Yeah,
scraped
barely,
by a very good Seattle team. First, we'll talk about Seattle. We talked about Golden State. Dominique Malagna, the 19-year-old, she's going to be a superstar.
really-
She stays healthy, 6'6", but she's 19 years old. I
And
mean,
that's-
she's a
And that's what
baby.
intrigues me. The youth of the league is
Yes.
growing so quick now that
But usually the young girls coming in the league are the ones that are coming through college. This
Yeah.
one should be a college freshman
mhm.
at age, and she's putting in work against some of the. I mean, in the playoff, double doubles the first two games at 6-6. Had the game winner in game 2 on a rim run. I mean, on a layup 3-point play, phenomenal. I mean, just phenomenal. But you got to give it up to AJ Wilson.
Yeah,
She wouldn't let them
That's
lose.
what-
Her and Jackie Young would not let Vegas lose.
I love Nafisa, but that's who I think is the best in the league.
The
Yeah.
best player
I
year in and
think-
year. The
yeah,
best player in the world
world,
is Asia Wilson. I mean, she's on GOAT time right now.
Yeah,
She's on
that's-
GOAT watch.
That made me
But
go.
Nafisa is right there in terms of two-way player, dominant.
Mhm.
I
Two
mean,
different positions as well.
But
so.
yeah, 165, and Nafisa's undersized. She's 6'1".
Yeah.
So it's and Asia's 6'5". So but the two very valuable, and AT, Liz Thompson, all three of them are very strong MVP candidates. No, if one of them were to get it, actually, I'm rocking with Fee, obviously the local girl. I want
I want her to win MVP.
I think
this
she
year,
gets it. But
for sure.
if Asia or AT were to get it, I'm not going to be screaming robbery because they've had.
Mhm.
It's kind of like SGA and Joker, the years that they had. And finally, Indiana, probably one of the incredible stories.
They're shocking me.
Yeah,
And-
you're missing 5 players.
yeah,
And you still go to Atlanta and win a first round series.
I do have a question for you though, because do you think it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation if Caitlin Clark comes back and they don't do what they did this year? I don't think they're going to make it past Asia, of course, but it's like, dang, we made it to the semis without 6 of you guys, and we come back and
I think
team.
they won't be. If they come back healthy, they'll be a championship
Okay.
type of team if they're all back healthy. There's no doubt about that. But this was phenomenal. Kelsey Mitchell, Atlanta Boston. I mean, they're doing some great work as well. So that's going to wrap up the first hour on the Earl Time updates on Friday nights. The Earl Austin Experience is on Saturdays. Of course, we have the easy second hour runs that you'll join me. Of course, we're on the Lou Information Station, live on demand as well at louinfo.com.
Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill has a new menu.
It's the easy second hour. I'm joined by my co-host, Hall of Famer Ron Zetcher. And Ron, how are you this morning?
This morning's a good morning. It's a beautiful day. I heard your show on the way in, like I always do, and I thought you had a great a session with the football coaches and St. Louis University football players. And a quick shout out when you mentioned St. Louis U football, brought back a memory of a great coach, Paul Martell. And then we have a great coach with us today who also he even shared with me that he learned a heck of a lot about coaching from the great Bob Christian, who was a football coach at DeSmet. So, we're still honoring these old-time coaches and people who made football and basketball and baseball, soccer so successful in our community. And our guest today is Greg Vitello, who is a storied soccer and a storied baseball coach from DeSmet. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, guys. And it's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Greg. Outstanding.
Greg, I guess Greg was, 46 years at DeSmet, coach?
Yes, 46. Glorious years.
That's unbelievable. You started as a freshman football coach?
Yeah.
And then you did a little coaching at track, and then, of course, soccer and baseball became your thing. You want to tell us a little bit about your soccer program, coach, and what great success you had over the years, and how did that success happen?
It happened because I was fortunate enough to be able to coach some really good kids, kids that were willing to take direction. Especially you mentioned old timers like Paul Martell and Bob Christian. Those were the days when a coach said something that was kind of what you did. There weren't too many questions. The parents usually followed along also saying, hey, if that's what coach said, then that's what we got to do. But again, going back to the soccer program, we started out with just, when I got there, just a sophomore team. But I had a real difficult time putting together a schedule. So we did play a number of varsity teams with just sophomore kids. But it helped the kids. It helped the program grow. As a matter of fact, when I called around and asked for games, people wanted to know what a DeSmet was. They had no idea. As a matter of fact, I went to St. Benedict's College in Atchison, Kansas, which is Benedictine College right now. And I played soccer. Actually, I didn't play soccer. I was a soccer goalkeeper. And I was from Chicago. And the only soccer that we saw were ethnic groups that played, in the parks and only on the weekends. And so I got to St. Benedict's and I met a number of guys from St. Louis, and that's all they talked about was soccer, soccer, soccer. As a matter of fact, our roster was made up of everyone was from St. Louis except me from Chicago, and we had a guy from Puerto Veracruz, Venezuela, and that was a soccer roster. And they said, if you want to coach soccer, you got to go to St. Louis, because actually I had aspirations of going back to Chicago to coach. So I ended up at DeSmet, and things just kind of worked out really good. But again, going back to the kids, we really had some great kids. They were special. Yeah, they made my life really easy.
Coach, let me ask you this. You were a member of a coaching staff of so many great coaches at DeSmet. You want to tell us a little bit about a few of those guys? Start with, you can just start with, who was a baseball coach before you?
Actually, it was George Hasser.
Yes. Okay.
And when I first got to DeSmet, they told me that we weren't going to have a baseball team. And I was kind of disappointed. But then again, it's a brand new school. They had no facility. And Tom O'Keefe, who was the football coach at the time and the track coach, who eventually ended up at John Burroughs and had a great career there as an assistant coach. But what a fantastic individual. Learned so much from Tom. But Tom asked me, since we weren't going to have a baseball team, if I would help out in track. And I said, hey, I've got no experience in track, but I'd be glad to help. Well, George went to the administration and said, hey, if you can get me the bare essentials, I'll coach baseball. And so they got him the bare essentials, basically. One of the dads, who I think worked for Bell Telephone, he put up a backstop, and they kind of went from there. And George coached for, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years before he gave up. When I was first hired, I was asked about football, and I said, well, I played one year of high school football. And the president of the school said, when he hired me, he says, that's good enough. And he said, and you'll love Tom O'Keefe. He'll bring you along.
Tell me about a Grauer, and then we were talking about Bergman also. Those two guys had a pretty good success with their basketball program, huh, Coach?
Oh, they sure did. Now, Rich and I started at the same time at DeSmet, and I was amazed watching him coach. This guy led no stone unturned. I think detailed. It was Rich Grauer. And again, just watching his teams play, I had the pleasure of sitting at the scorers table for many, many years, watching him coach. And again, learning from him also. But again, a fabulous coach. His assistant was Dale. Dale came from Augustinian, and I think it was either our second or third year at DeSmet, and it was a tremendous help, to Rich. And as I mentioned before to you, Ron, Dale was probably as good or probably better than any coach in the area coaching during a game, being able to make game adjustments.
Hey, Coach, real quick, this little cute little reminder, what your son did when you were at the scorers table. Tell us.
Yeah, we used to get crowds, standing room only, and they'd probably lock the doors 45 minutes to an hour before the game. And my son, who was pretty young at the time, he needed a good seat. So he found a seat right between my legs underneath the scorers table and watched most of those games. But again, it was a great seat. No, those were standing room only days.
Greg, I remember this was when I first moved here. I remember, I guess, those great DeSmet teams, not only Rich, but the staff he put together. It was like Jerry Bain and Greg Fingerhut and then Dale.
Yeah.
As far as that, those all became big time head coaches.
Yes, they
head
did.
coaches in their own right. So it was like did everybody kind of have staff like that? Where just a lot of young guys just kind of eager to learn.
Yeah, we did, and I think that was a unique aspect about DeSmet. It was a new school, and people were willing to go with almost anything. One of the things that we used to get a lot was, down at St. Louis U High, they used to do this and they used to do that, and we'd say, well, that's terrific, but we're not St. Louis U High, we're DeSmet. And I think, again, one of the unique things was we were able to run with ideas. And if the idea worked, that was terrific. And if it didn't, well, we just find something else. But again, we were able to take that run.
Coach, we talked a little bit about the young coaches, but how about your assistant for so many years? One of the greatest men. You and I, we're honored members of the 1-2-3 Club, and he's deceased. But what a great guy. You want to tell us?
Bill Miller Sr., yes.
Bill Miller Sr.
Yeah.
And his son.
Yes. And his son, Bill, who played 10 years in the big leagues, played for the Giants and the Cubs and the Boston Red Sox. He got himself a World Series ring with the Red Sox, also got himself a batting title with the Red Sox.
Yep.
And then ended up going out to L.A., but his knees basically gave out. And he worked in administration with the Dodgers. Ended up with the Cardinals and coached here for a number of years. Also was the lead hitting instructor with the Cubs. Right now, he's helping his boy in high school, but just a terrific ball player. He was one of these guys that I remember scouts would say, well, he's kind of small and he can't pull the ball. This is after watching him, get 4 hits to left center field. And he can't do this and he can't do that. But he was a guy that he was an overachiever. And that's where, that's what got him where he was. And then his dad was one of these guys that I remember a gentleman asked Bill Sr., he says, hey, when you get Billy out on the practice field, actually, they had a driveway next to their house, and that's where they used to do a lot of work. But he'd say, hey, did you used to hit Bill, 1,000 ground balls a day and, hit 800 balls off the tee and whatnot? And Bill would say, well, no, not really. If Bill wanted to hit 10, we'd hit 10. If he didn't want to hit any, then we wouldn't hit any. But that was his philosophy. Whatever his son wanted, that's what he did.
Bill Miller Sr., one of the best guys, and he shared this story with me when the young son wanted to become a switch hitter. He said, yes, son, I'll work with you. And as soon as you're frustrated, we stop for that day. we're just not going to do it anymore. And he used to take him in the some of the Catholic elementary schools that his dad had access to in the winter with a handball, and he'd throw handballs on the ground to him and work on it, and tell him about the drills that the dad and you had with him, Coach, on hitting those ground balls.
Yeah, he used to do the 100 ground ball drill. And whether we were inside or outside, he'd want me to hit him 100 ground balls. But at number 73, if he missed it, he'd want to start again. And I'd kind of shake my head and go, Bill, it's dark, it's cold. I've been here for about 13 hours, but we just kept going. And that's kind of, I think, what made him a professional ball player.
Can you tell us a little bit? I tried to remember about the state baseball championship game that you were in that a balk was called, Coach. You remember? I'm sure you haven't forgotten it.
No, I haven't. The thing about state play in just about every sport is that the officials are handpicked. But the thing about baseball is that we went from 2 umpires to 4 umpires. So now, we got 2 more sets of eyes on everything. And I just think that there's little bitty things that maybe get by during the regular season simply because there's only 4 eyes on the game. But now you've got 8 eyes on the game, and people see things that maybe weren't called during the regular season. But, you're in championship play, and all these people are watching, and people are writing reports, on the officials. That was tough, but you move on. I've never won a game or lost a game because of an official. And if I could, can I tell a quick story about Mr. Zetcher down there?
Absolutely, we live for that.
Yeah, Earl will really appreciate this. And I've kind of alluded to Ron at one time about this story, but Dennis Beckett, who we all know and love as a basketball guru in the area, Dennis was working with Norm Stewart down at Missouri. Dennis's official capacity was, I don't know what his official capacity was. He was the graduate assistant. Well, we called Dennis and we said, hey, we want to come down for the KU game. And Dennis said, hey, no problem. So we drive down to Columbia and we go to the ticket booth. And of course, we're dealing with Dennis and there's no tickets. And so we're trying to get a hold of Dennis. We finally get a hold of Dennis and he comes out a side door and he goes, follow me. So we go through here and we go through there. We go through this room. We go through this tunnel. And Dennis says, hey, grab a chair. So there was 3 of us. We grabbed a chair and we eventually end up out on the floor. Well, he sets one guy underneath the basket and another guy's at the far end underneath the basket. And he sets me an arm's distance from Larry Brown. They're playing KU. And I'm thinking, my God, if he turns around to the left, he may put me in the game. But anyway, Mr. Zetcher is referee in that game. And during the entire game, all I heard from Larry Brown was, same old frickin' stuff, Ron. Same old frickin' stuff, Ron. But it was great. But I want to tell you about Ron because I watched Ron referee in high school. He refereed many of my baseball games and a lot of baseball games in the St. Louis area. And he also did, a lot of high-profile college games. One of the things about Ron was that it wasn't that he didn't take himself serious, but he knew that people were not there to see Ron Zetcher on the court. Ron was there to officiate a game. And to his credit, I watched a lot of the games that he did, and that's exactly what he did. He refereed games. To your credit,
Absolutely.
man.
I want to ask Greg, having 2 programs so successful, like you say, baseball and soccer at the large school level, that is so uncommon. Usually when a coach is head coach, I see that at like 1A, 2A schools where there's, a lot of numbers, obviously small. You were able to have 2 state powerhouse programs at a big school level. How were you able to manage that, give each equal time? That's a big undertaking to be able to sustain that level of success.
Yeah, a lot of work. A lot of work. Early on, actually, I coached 3 sports.
Yeah.
I coached swimming in between those 2, and to try to make the whole thing work.
Oh man,
it took a lot of juggling, but it took what it forced me to do was prepare, and that was one of the things that I really liked about coaching is preparing to coach. To this day, I still loved practices much more than games. But that's what it forces you to do when you're coaching those many sports. You got to be able to be structured. And that's one of the things I thought that I kind of did well. But again, going back to the kids they were willing to buy in to what I was selling. And that was a big issue, a really big issue.
Well, let me say how well you did. We 5 state soccer championships, 1 baseball state championships. You beat Lafayette that year, didn't you, Coach, in the state final? Bob Swift.
What year was that?
No, gosh, that was 2000 or 2001.
Now that reminds me, maybe my favorite baseball athlete, one of my favorite Smith athletes. I was Bob Keppel.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
I mean, because he was a 6'5" point guard in basketball on a state championship team,
right?
But that was like his second sport.
Yeah, hell of a baseball pitcher,
a dominant pitcher.
He really was.
Yes,
just a terrific individual too.
Well, you won that state title in 2000.
Bob Swift was not the coach then.
Oh, Bob was done then.
Bob was at Marquette then.
Bob Swift had a heck of a career, didn't he?
Oh, he sure did. Boy, I love coaching against him because when you coach against him, you learn the game of baseball.
And he only had 1 assistant, and I think you only had 1 for many years.
For many years, I had no assistant.
None.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I had a number of people that said, hey, I know you don't have an assistant. I'd love to join you. And I said, hey, that's terrific. And these are guys with some good baseball backgrounds. But it was always the case where, on Tuesdays, I can't make it. And there's going to be some weekends I'm not going to be able to make it and stuff like that. And I said, I really can't have that. I got to have a guy that kind of jumps in with both feet. And I couldn't find that guy until I found Bill Miller Sr., who was willing to help.
Bill Miller Sr., you're probably not going to get a better assistant coach.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, first of all, his knowledge, but just his calm demeanor. I was a little hyper, and he was the exact opposite of me. He was the guy that if I know Coach is all up in arms about something, so I got to go to Coach Miller to find out, what I really need to do. And his stories, we used to have story time before every practice. And Bill would always tell a story about his son, Billy, and he would do this and he would do that. And he talked about one day, he says, Bill's playing in Cincinnati and he's having a tough time. He's having a tough weekend and he gets called out on a strike that looks like it's about a foot outside. And Bill kind of draws a line in the dirt. And he said from that day on, he said the rest of the weekend, it was a nightmare for Bill. Everything was a strike. And he said, of course, we go to San Francisco and guess who's umpiring? The same group of umpires that he had in Cincinnati. So, but those are one of the stories that Bill used to tell. And the kids used to go crazy.
What was Bill Sr.'s demeanor like during that World Series, especially the games here in St. Louis? What was his demeanor like?
He always seemed to be under control. There was just never a moment where Bill was just overexcited. It was kind of like, yeah, and I'm watching here, and probably things could have been done that way or done that way, but yeah, I'm under control. He was always under control. Yeah.
What a great asset. I don't have it.
Oh, me neither, man.
We're both the same way. You know what I saw I didn't see the end of the Tennessee NCAA championship, but I saw the clip of it when the game ended. And then I saw your son, and your son was running around that baseball field. I'm telling you, I've never seen excitement like that. And I thought, oh, no. That's
a lot of people.
Great.
Yeah,
that's not Tony.
They thought he was nuts. Well, and he got some bad publicity on that whole thing. I mean, he jumps into the crowd. He's throwing ice. He's having a great time. And I think he deserved to have a great time. Baseball especially is a game of negatives.
Yes.
And when you do something positive, I think you earn the right to celebrate. We used to have this conversation. I had this conversation with Billy Miller, with bat flips and various things like that, the way guys express themselves right now. And I hate to use the term old school, but old school guys don't like that kind of stuff. But as Bill explained to me one day, again, this is such a negative game that I think when you do something good, it's okay to celebrate. Now, some guys kind of take that to the extreme, but for the most part, I think you deserve it. You really do.
What do you think, Earl?
Yeah, he's right. Like you say, 300 means you fail 70% of the time.
Yeah,
but you're a Hall of Famer if you do that for 10, 15 years, basically.
exactly.
Now, like I say, I enjoy the excitement, and I enjoy you don't want to get out of hand. Some guys just go way aboard, but I enjoy the little guys have their own different routines and everything.
Well,
So,
they do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. 3 years ago, I think the Tennessee baseball team set a record for wins during the season. They won 62
Yes.
games, and that was a year they didn't get to Omaha. Notre Dame beat them
right.
in a super regional in Tennessee. But that team, I think, really stirred the interest of college baseball. That was one of the first teams that used to celebrate home runs with various artifacts. I think they started out with a baseball cap, and then they started out with a god-awful looking coat that these guys would put on after they hit a home run. And as a matter of fact, they actually carried that onto the field. And the next year, the NCAA says, well, you can't do it on the field, and it's got to be done in the dugout. But a lot of people, they took exception to that. But for the most part, people really, they began to really follow college baseball because they, in essence, they really liked what was going on.
Well, it was like the WWE. They kind of became the heels of the SEC.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
Miami, the U of football, and like you said, it creates a lot of you love them, you hate them, but
Right.
everybody's tuning in and watching them, and we see that all across the spectrum of sports. And
Right.
everything.
Exactly. That's kind of the way when he coaches, and I kind of adopted this philosophy. You make people uncomfortable, and you make them feel uncomfortable because you're asking a lot. I never asked an individual athlete that I coached to give me more than what I thought you had. And when a guy, in my opinion, felt like he wasn't using his God-given abilities, then, we'd have to stoke it a little bit. And a lot of people, when you start stoking, they don't consider that coaching. Hey, he's yelling and screaming again, and he's doing this and he's doing that. Well, folks, we're coaching. We're making people feel uncomfortable, and people don't like to feel uncomfortable.
Earl, is it time
Greg
for
staying with us?
He better stay with us.
Staying with us? Yeah. Okay, we're going to take our first break.
I have to call my agent first to find out if I can stay.
Yes, absolutely. You're listening to the Earl the Earl Austin Experience. It's the easy second hour. We're pleased to be joined by Greg Vitello, Hall of Fame coach as well in two sports. We'll see you in a little bit. house, decked out in his Tennessee Volunteers cap. Oh no, we talked earlier. We had a mutual friend, Jay Evler, obviously passed away a couple of years ago. And me and Jay, we used to talk on the phone all the time. We call whenever, and we talk Tennessee baseball or Arkansas baseball when your son was assistant. And that was kind of our thing. Whenever they did something or something wrong, you get on the phone and talk. That was our connection. I kind of missed that now that Jay is gone, but we do each other. We just talk a lot of Tennessee baseball as well. And that's kind of made me a fan.
A very unique individual. And Jay was, I guess, he thought his opinion was really, really good, just about in everything.
Just ask him; he'll tell you.
Just ask him; he'll tell.
No doubt about it.
Especially politics. And you didn't want to get him going, but you mentioned the phone call. It was like almost. I walk every morning, and every morning I get a phone call from Jay. Hey, did you see this? Did you see that? Did you talk to this guy? What about this? What about that? But it was just great. It was. I mean, he was just so enthusiastic about everything. We were talking about Tennessee, and Ron was asking, and Earl mentioned that Tennessee was at the bottom of the SEC when my son got there, and I can tell you this: the first game that I attended was the first game he coached there, and there was a light mist. It was 38 degrees, and I counted there were 28 people in the stands, and now you can't get a ticket. It's become kind of a high-profile place. They've restructured the entire stadium. They sat about 4,500 at one time. They're probably going to seat about 8,200 now. But it's going to be a fabulous stadium. And it's nothing like Arkansas. Arkansas's got a state-of-the-art place, and Texas A&M does. But it's going to be a facility where every seat in the house, you feel like you're on the third base coaching box. It's going to be a fabulous facility. But again, what he's done has been somewhat remarkable. I'm just, even as his dad, I'm awfully impressed and proud.
You get a chance to watch SEC baseball. And obviously, we talk SEC basketball, SEC football, but SEC baseball history is just as impressive, isn't it? You get a chance to see it on a daily basis now.
I do, and it's second to none. I mean, it's almost professional baseball. And unfortunately, the way all college sports are going, it's almost mercenary sport right now, where you're going to get a guy out of the portal for 1 year and at the most maybe 2 years. You don't see guys get in the program and progress and end up there for 3 or 4 years. It's a 1 or 2 year shot.
Coach, you want to talk a little bit about the Paul Skeen story that you shared with us? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe not. We'll pass on it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the pitcher.
How about Liam? Liam Doyle, who's now with the AA team in Springfield. Liam is he's a product of Tony. He reminds me so much of Tony with the fire that he has when he plays. Again, he was a portal guy. He came from Ole Miss. And the way he explained it to me, I wasn't finding myself at Ole Miss, and he ended up at Tennessee. My son Tony's got a guy by the name of Frank Anderson, who I think is probably one of, if not the best, college baseball pitching coach there is. The guy is second to none, and he refined Liam. And he's not a guy who uses a lot of gimmicks when he coaches. It's just kind of refine what you have. And he got the kid going from 92 to 98 with a splitter that he taught him and also a pretty good changeup. But again, it was the fire that this kid had and the willingness to learn that I think made him the draft choice that the Cardinals wanted.
He reminds me a lot of what I've seen clips of him of our club member, Al Rabowski.
Al Rabowski, yeah. He's kind of a cross between Al Rabowski and Chris Carpenter. And he's going to get better. They're going to slow him down. He's always in a rush to do things. But the talent is there. He should be up in the middle of next year.
That's fantastic. And we need that. And it'll generate some fan interest.
Oh, it should. Yeah. Especially the way things are going right now.
Right.
They need a little fan interest.
Yes, they do. Go ahead, Earl.
Yeah, when you watch your son coach, how much has he taken from you and your personality and everything as a coach, and then how much is Tony in his own personality?
Well,
and tech and philosophy and everything.
Yeah, I've been asked that question before. What's the difference between you two? Well, the difference is I think I considered myself coaching with a lot of fire. He coaches with a lot of fire. And again, go back to the word uncomfortable. He makes people feel uncomfortable, but he has the ability to relate once you make somebody feel uncomfortable. I read time and time again his recruits say, hey, he's a player's coach. He's a guy that I want to play for. And I think his recruiting has kind of shown that. His recruiting over the past couple of years has either been one or two, in the nation. But as far as a comparison between us two, my coaching style was if things aren't working out, you got to work harder, more reps. And that's good in one sense, but then there's that stuff between guys' ears that is it's a big part of the game right now. They start out every practice session in a team meeting, and there is always 10 to 15 minutes devoted to the mental side of baseball. He'll either have quotes, he'll show a short video, he'll be able to talk about various guys that are in sports psychology. But that's how they start out every practice. And again, we mentioned before that the game is so negative that you've got to be able to move on. And again, some guys can't. And it really affects their game.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about a couple of the guys that you were with all the years over there. Bob, give me a little background. Your overall view of Bob Christian, our friend who's gone, but what a great guy.
Oh, just terrific individual. Again, here's another politician. He was also a politician, but Bob was a guy who he knew what he wanted. His direction was always straight ahead. I know what I need. I know what I need to have my players do. Again, extremely structured. As I mentioned before, I learned a lot from him. The structure in putting together practice plans I got from Bob. It was always, we were always prepared, no matter what.
What about the schedule that Bob had that eventually probably hurt him and cost him his job, maybe?
Well, it may or may not have cost him his job, but, I, as an assistant of Bob, questioned, the teams that we were playing week in and week out. I mean, they were top 10 teams. And at the time, we may not have had top 10 talent, but we were getting our clocks cleaned.
Week one was East St. Louis for a number of years.
Yeah. But the kids were having a tough time recovering week from week. I mean, you just can't play East St. Louis. Hazelwood East at that time was just a superior team. You just can't play those teams week in and week out. Go to Jeff City, take that trip. It was just tough. It was tough on the kids.
Rockhurst?
Yeah, again. Yeah.
I didn't infer that he lost a job because of that, but the great Ed Velton was a good friend of his. And Velton told me this. He said, this is when it was going on. He said, I keep telling Bob, you're going to schedule yourself right out of a job. That's Ed Velton.
But Bob never thought that way.
No.
He always thought, hey, it's us against them. And if we prepare, we can do it. We can really do it.
What about Bergie?
Dale Bergman, a unique individual here. And, as I mentioned, in-game coach, one of the best. He would cut corners every once in a while, especially practice time, especially when he was the B team coach. Because when you're a B team and C team coach in the high school level, it's kind of like you get your 45 minutes and then all of a sudden, varsity guys would kind of mingle into the gym and they'd walk through your practice and stuff like that. And that would really upset Dale. And he would kind of go, okay, we're done with practice today. We're done. But as Grauer's assistant, I think that he really, really helped Rich. And everybody knows what a good coach Rich was, but I think that he was a dynamic coach for Rich.
Well, you didn't go to Augustinian, right? You weren't a coach there.
I did not. I'm not from St. Louis. I'm from Chicago. And matter of fact, Dale came from Augie's.
And so did Rich.
Rich was at St. Louis U High.
St. Louis U High.
Yeah.
Phil Noser.
Phil was at Augustinian
Bob
also.
Ben, my
Bob Ben,
college coaches. in
Yeah.
hockey.
How about Ben? What a guy.
Benner, man.
Talk about,
I
hey,
played for him for 2
Yeah.
years.
Hey, did you?
Yes.
Did you?
At Lindenwood. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
well, Ben, listen, real quick. Ben was my teammate at Washington U in baseball.
Oh.
And we were at Bradley, and Benny and I were rooming together. We were in the second floor of some hotel in Peoria. And Benny was about 0 for 18 at the time. And I said, Benny, I'm going to stand by that window. I don't want you jumping out that window.
Yeah.
Now you'll get some hits tomorrow.
That was him, man. Very
Now,
intense.
Now, Bob, at the same time that he was coaching us at Lindenwood, he still coached Pattonville's baseball team.
Oh,
'cause
did
he won the
Uh-huh.
he won the state title
Right.
that 1 year with Scott Cooper
Yeah.
in '86. But yeah,
They beat us that year
Yeah.
in a quarterfinal game. If I could, Scott was pitching, and they kept telling us, "Hey, man, you can't pitch to Scott. You can't pitch to Scott." And I said, "We're going to pitch to Scott." The first time up the bat, we got him to pop up. The next time up, a guy on first base, he hit a home run. All right, so now we're down 2-1 actually. They scored another run. We made it 3-2. We got the tying run on third base. Scott's still pitching. It's the 7th inning, and the pitch goes back to the screen. Our runner on third base, rather than lean towards home plate, actually starts to lean back towards third base. Never reacts to the pitch. Next guy flies out, and Pattonville beats us 3-2 with Scott Cooper. But Benner was the coach then, and God, you talk about a guy that was intense on the baseball
yes.
field.
Ooh, yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, how about on the basketball
Off
court?
court, right, exactly.
Oh,
Mhm.
Benny, I love Ben. I mean, we were teammates at Washington U and had more fun together. But well, he was a competitor.
Oh, without a doubt. He's another guy that you want to play for.
Absolutely. I was heartbroken when he left.
Oh.
He got into it with administration and support and all that,
Uh-huh.
and he left after 2 years, and it broke my heart when he left.
That's too bad.
It was because he was a great coach, and he was just, like I say, a good dude to play for as well.
How about Steve Nicolered as a high school baseball coach?
Oh, one of the best. Again, knowing the game, Steve really knows the game. He knows how to teach the game. Matter of fact, I think he's still teaching the game. But again, that was, I thought, his biggest attribute is how he could teach.
Well, I remember a baseball game that I umpired between DeSmet and St. Louis U High, and I was behind the plate. And
Yeah. Okay, keep going. Keep
DeSmet,
going. Yeah.
yeah, you know the game.
Yeah.
So this DeSmet kid's going to try to score on a close play at the plate, and I pumped him out.
Mhm.
And I don't remember who the third base coach was for DeSmet, but it was a guy come running down the line screaming at me and this and that. And I said, "That's enough." And the guy stops and he goes, "Oh."
Yeah, maybe I should genuflect
Yeah.
before I come down and talk to you.
And then what happened after that?
Yeah. I don't remember what happened after that.
I think they turned the water on early.
Oh, they did. They did. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I didn't know what genuflex meant. I really didn't. I'm a Jewish boy.
Uh-huh.
So Nicolered came out the next inning, Earl, and Nicolered said, what did he say to you that you got you so upset? I said, well, I don't know what it meant, but I know it wasn't a compliment. And I told him that Nicolered about fell down at home
Yeah.
plate laughing. Those were great days.
It was. It really was. As a baseball coach, and I think all baseball coaches understand this and realize this, every time there's what they think is a bad call and they need to rush out, you're not going to change anything. And matter of fact, I've told this to a couple umpires. I said, I'm coming out here and I know you can't change anything, but I got to, support my players. Okay. And I got to act like I'm really upset with the call. But I know you made the call and there's nothing you can change. So let's everybody move on.
That brings to a question. Obviously, challenges, it's very good because you want to get the play right and everything. So you get the challenge. Do you think we've lost kind of when you grow up, a part of the game where the referee, the coach, like the Billy Martin or the Sparky Anderson, can run out there and scream at Ron Luciano? That part of the game you lost because we could challenge and replay and get the right. But
really,
you do lose a part of that.
No.
That was part of the fabric.
Exactly.
Of baseball,
You're
isn't it?
exactly right, Earl. It's kind of like fights in hockey. You want that manager to come busting out of that dugout. I still remember George Brett running out of the dugout, attacking the umpire. Matter of fact, I think Dave Phillips might have been the umpire that day. Yeah.
Yes.
But no, you miss those things. And again, for as much college baseball that I watch, every game slows down because we got to have a review. And, each team gets 2 reviews. And if you win, you keep your reviews. And if you don't, you lose one. But again, every time a catcher, wants to say something to the umpire, he walks out there, but then the umpire's got to record that. Everything's got to be written down. You can't go to first base, more than once. It's crazy. It really is.
Talking about that, an official, we're not going to be able to call in. I told him if we had a chance, we would. But a guy who thinks the world of you, I'm going to give you his name now because he worked your soccer. I think he might have worked one of your state finals, and he's a great baseball umpire, Larry Donovan.
Oh, yes. Great.
What do you think?
Oh, super, man. Just super individual. Matter of fact, Larry came out. I was talking to a pitcher one time, and Larry walked out and he goes, I got to break this up. I said, Larry, it's Good Friday. Are you going to eat meat today? Or are you going to have, a cheese sandwich or something like that? But Larry was terrific. And again, a great umpire, a great soccer official.
On the soccer tip, I wanted to ask you this as somebody who obviously coached the elite players in the state and some of the best in the country. How did you navigate? Obviously, the club soccer obviously carries a ton of weight in St. Louis. If that's an understatement. And then now the element of the national team and playing for that, and kids moving. And how did you have to navigate that?
When I first started, we didn't have too much controversy with that. As a matter of fact, at the time, soccer and baseball was a really good combination. I had a number of guys that played soccer and baseball, but as soccer seemed to grow on the club level, more and more coaches demanded their kids, not so much full time, but I want you during our whole season. I don't want to, want you to take a weekend off because you got to play baseball or something like that. And then the demands became even more, and the selling point was, hey, we're going to get you in the eyes of college coaches when you play for our club team. And of course, if you play for our club team, it's also going to cost you a few dollars, but, we're going to help you in the recruiting process. We're going to get you to the college that you want to go to. And more guys, especially parents, seem to buy into that philosophy. Hey, we're going to get you there. We're going to get you there. Just write a check and we'll get you there. Yeah. And right now I look at the national team roster. I don't see too many guys from St. Louis on that national team roster. But it became really difficult my last few years of coaching. And it's happening right now, with the club scene. Kids they're being asked to give up all high school sports just to play soccer. And I don't think it's right. I think kids miss out so much socially by participating in high school athletics. What's neater than to come in after a big game at night and you're in homeroom talking to your buddies going, hey, man, how about that game last night? We scored in overtime and we did this. Or, that last basket was just terrific. And the other guy says, well, we're going to Dallas this weekend to play in front of 12 people. It just doesn't work.
I can relate to that personally. My one of my grandsons, he's a freshman, little Jewish boy, freshman over at DeSmet this year, first year. And he just made the JV. They have 3 JV hockey teams. And right away, now he's in a culture and he's with people who he's going to school with every day and he's playing hockey. And that's a freshman entering a brand new school and he just feels good about himself.
Oh, I bet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the experience of you win a big game. Like I watched Sluh beat the Smet last week for the first time in 10 years. And the team ran over to their student section, which was right there crowded. And that's part of that high school experience.
It is.
And that's
very much so.
It's sports, but that's the high school experience. And that is just, I think, so much as important as what happens on the field.
Without a doubt. No, without a doubt. One of the things that was disappointing for me my last years of sitting at that scores table was to watch the crowds. Now, when DeSmet played CBC or St. Louis U High, obviously, the crowd was a little bit bigger. But during the week, well, first of all, some guys, they couldn't relate to playing, some of these other schools, but nobody was there. This is your school, guys, and don't tell me you got homework because nobody does homework anymore. The way school's structured, everything's done in school. I mean, I remember so many parent-teacher conferences where guys say, Do you guys ever give homework here? Because every time my son comes home, he says, we don't have any homework. I did it at school. No.
Well, speaking of crowds, remember that little story I relayed to you before we came in here? I had the St. Louis U DeSmet basketball game years ago when I think it was the year that Steeple was still there and Dressler and all the boys. And it's a big time game on a Friday night. And I got there about 6:30. Doors are locked. You can't get in the place. Well, they see I'm a referee. Somebody opened up, let me in. But before that, some lady, and I saw it with my own eyes, there was a window. It was a warm night in February. This lady crawled through this window to get into the Smet gym to see that game. It was just unbelievable in those days. And then when you get to referee the game, you had no room to referee. On the baseline, those kids they're almost on your heels. And what was coming out of those nice, very well-mannered boys during those games was unbelievable.
Yeah. I know, Earl, you're still involved, with these high school games. What are the crowds like now?
Well, it depends on, like last night I was at Wentzville. It was like North Point and Liberty. And it was a great atmosphere. So you get the rivalry games, but it still wanes in comparison to what it used to be. You still see selected games, but it's not as good as it used to be. But you still see some pretty good ones. You want a final statement there? We're going to wrap it up here.
Yeah, I have something. There's a couple things I want to ask them about. These are gentlemen who had a lot to do with your career. And I hope I pronounced his name right. Vic Sarcia?
Vic Sarcia, yes. He was my little league coach, my pony league coach. And he was a guy that actually taught the game. Rather than, hey, we're going to take batting practice for an hour and a half, everybody stand around, and then let's go home. He taught the game.
Tom Caldwell.
He was my college coach. He was a basketball coach that never saw a soccer game until he got to St. Benedict's. But he was the guy that taught me integrity.
And Terry Hansen.
One of the best. Terry and I played together, and then he coached me. But just a terrific individual.
You've had a great career, Coach. You're a Hall of Fame coach. Tell us about the Hall of Fames you're in as we wrap it up. Do we have time, Earl, to wrap this up?
I know we probably don't. We don't have time for Hall of Fames.
But yeah, soccer, baseball.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate.
Well, Greg Vitella, thank you very much. It was a great hour. I really appreciate all your insight.
My pleasure.
We had a great time today.
I'm with two great individuals, man.
It was fun today. Ron, once again, great job. Get the best guest.
Thank you, Earl. We had today, I'm going to tell you real quick, that's about the best, or one of the best interviews I've ever been involved in.
It was a lot of fun.
Fun. So much fun.
Well, that wraps up another edition of the Earl Austin Experience. We'll see you next Saturday. We're live on demand at luinfo.com. Catch us on YouTube as well. You all have a nice weekend.
Hot Take Central 2.0.
Now, as you sports fans know,
it's really getting out of hand, man. It's going way out of control.
With Cam Jansen.
I'm going to read you.